Good evening, brethren. So let's go to chapter 100 of the book of Hanoch, verse 1. Attentively consider heaven, all you sons of the heavens, and all the works of the Most High. Tremble before him and do not work evil before him. If he shuts up the windows of heaven and withholds the rain and dew from falling on your account, what will you do? This, if he shuts up the windows of heaven and withholds the rain and dew from falling on your account, what will you do? Connect with Revelation 11 when it speaks of the two witnesses who will have power to do this. And it mainly refers to a spiritual interpretation of those words. But there's a connection here with what we read in the book of Revelation. And if he sends his wrath against you due to all your deeds, you will not have opportunity to supplicate him if you utter against his righteousness haughty and insolent words. So, and if he sends his wrath against you due to all your deeds, you will not have opportunity to supplicate him if you utter against his righteousness haughty and insolent words, and thus you will not obtain shalom. Do you not see the commanders of ships when their vessels are tossed about by the waves and rocked by the winds and fall into peril? Because of this they fear, because all their great possessions are embarked with them on the ocean, so they get bad forebodings that the sea will swallow them up and they will perish there. Is not the entire sea, all its waters and all its movements, the work of the Most High? An example of this, when Mashiach was in the boat asleep and there was a storm and the disciples thought that they were about to die, so they woke him up and he got up and he spoke to the waters, to the storm, and it stopped. So a couple things there, of course, is the authority of Mashiach to even speak to nature and for nature to listen to him, for he is the creator of all things, for he is the word through which Yahweh created everything. So Yahushua spoke and everything stopped. But the interesting thing is that the boat was about to turn over and they were feeling like they were about to die. So that means that in a way, nature was first acting upon the command of a certain angel, in this case, the Elohim of this world, the God of this world. My point is that why, if Mashiach was in that boat, the storm and the water, pretty much nature was about to kill everybody in the boat. And that shows that the God of this world, as they call him, would use even nature to try to affect the ministry of Mashiach, to stop him also from going to the gathering and taking out the demon from those two. There were two, but in another of the good news says only one, for different reasons, according to the way the book was written. So, is not the entire sea, all its waters and all its movements, the work of the Most High? Hasn't he put his seal upon all its actions, and hasn't he bound it to the sand? This is something that amazes me all the time, every time I think about this, how Yahweh placed the sand as the limit for the sea. As we know, we only find sand right there by the sea. And the farther you go from the sea, then it starts to become dirt, soil, regularly. So the fact that the sea represents chaos rebellion, and it keeps trying to get into the earth to cover it once again, just like it was during the first day of creation. Because when Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, everything was covered with water. So water, the water of the sea, is always trying to cover the whole land. So it keeps trying, and that's what the waves are, keeps trying to enter and enter and enter, but Yahweh places the sand. So the water cannot go beyond the sand unless Yahweh allows it for the sin of the people that is by that place or that needs to be covered by water. And when that happens through a tsunami, for instance, we see how easy it is for the water to get into the land like nothing. So that's when you see the power of Yahweh, of his command, and how the sand acts as a limit for the water that keeps trying to come into the land to cover it once again like it was in the beginning. And that also is interesting because the sea represents, like I said, chaos, rebellion. It also connects with the nations and with Sheol, where the dead, the souls go. So the fact that the sand is the limit, the sand is the one that stops that chaos, stops death, stops rebellion, the nations, the pagans, etc. The fact that the sand is the one that stops all of that is important because Yahweh told Abraham and Jacob that his children would be like the sand. So that is the power and authority that Yahweh is given to his people. So hasn't he put his seal upon all its actions, and hasn't he bound it to the sand? At his reprimand, it trembles, it dries up, and all of his fish die. Like it has been happening for a while already, but it's getting worse every year. How they find so much fish dead all over the place, like thousands of thousands. And I'm sure I could go and look for some of those. If you guys want me to do it, I'll do it. But I think it's very easy to do so, and perhaps most of you already know about that. So even on Twitter, as you guys know, sometimes I retweet some of the news about the end time and all the fish that are found in many countries. But not only fish, because there's also birds that are found dead all over the place, and many other creatures, which is what Hosea, the prophet, the book of Hosea, spoke of, that the beasts of the earth, of the sea, and of the sky would start dying at the end of time, at the end of this world. So at his reprimand, it trembles, it dries up, and all of his fish die. So that would mean that the fact that the fish are dying is because Yahweh is angry. Likewise, as all that it contains, yet ye errant ones who are upon the earth do not fear him. Isn't it he who made the heavens and the earth and all the things that they contain? And who has granted the erudition and the wisdom to all those who move upon the earth and on the sea? Aren't the commanders of ships terrified at the ocean? And shouldn't errant ones be terrified at the Most High? So during this chapter, Hanok was making a comparison or analogy of the power of the sea and the fear that those who work at sea, the fear that they have of the sea, like the fear that people should have of the power of the Most High, which is interesting because, like I said, the sea represents the nations. In Revelation, we see how the whore of Babylon, when she is destroyed, all those who work at sea are crying and sad because of all the money or all the riches that they were making through the great whore of Babylon. And although in a way that could be interpreted in a literal sense, it refers to how the nations have become rich by dealing with the great whore of Babylon, since the nations are represented by the sea. So, like I was saying, also referring to how the sea represents the nations and therefore the pagans, and they are afraid of their false Elohim. And like I was saying, also what they call the god of this world, who we know is Lucifer, is Satan, one of the three Satans that I have mentioned here. He had something to do when there was a storm that was trying to kill those who were in the boat with Mashiach. Yahushua showed his authority even over that angel by speaking straight to the storm and for the storm to stop. But Mashiach spoke, I repeat, with great authority to that storm and told it to stop. So the storm was pretty much like another malach, or in a way, let's say like a pet who was told to do something, but then came the owner of everything and gave a command, and that was enough for that entity that was trying to bring destruction to that boat, for it to stop. And I say all of that because if there is an entity that could do that with the sea, and those who were at sea, would be the false Elohim that the nations worship and follow. Yet, how much more should we fear the Almighty Creator, whose Son came and was able to command even that entity, that power? So, aren't the commanders of ships terrified at the ocean? And shouldn't errant ones be terrified at the Most High? Yet they are blind pretty much to this fact. As you can see, it says no chapter 101. So I'll continue with chapter 102. When he shall cast a terrible fire upon you, whither will you flee? Whither will you flee? And how will you be saved? And when he sends forth his word against you, shall you not be consternated? And shall you not tremble? And when he sends forth his word against you, shall you not be consternated? And shall you not tremble? All the luminaries are seized with great fear, and the entire earth is terrified. It shall tremble, and it shall be alarmed. This is getting very, very close, and it will get worse at the second half of the last 7 years mentioned in Daniel, the last week of Daniel, the 7 bowls of wrath mentioned in the book of Revelation. And something that I was mentioning to the congregation, a brother of the congregation mentioned it and then spoke on it, was on how amazing it is that, everything that is happening right now, all the laws they're trying to pass regarding the injection and all of that, bringing pretty much what could become a Holocaust, the way they're doing it, and therefore a fulfillment of what we see in the book of Revelation. and how fast they're trying to do it kind of shows how um how little time they have, because they're trying to speed it up. So that shows us how close we are to the promises of the Most High. And even though it may seem like um, something to be afraid of, but I mean, a lot of people may feel like they should be afraid of everything that is happening. Remember that in Egypt, when Israel was in Egypt, when the redemption came, when it was starting, when Moshe was being chosen and taken to Egypt to bring him out, that's when everything got worse. So the fact that things are getting like that is just a sign that redemption is nigh. The salvation is indeed near. So as I was saying here, all the envoys shall execute their orders and shall seek to conceal themselves from the presence of the great worth, the great honor. The sons of the earth shall tremble and shake. But you errant ones shall be accursed for the age, and you shall have no shalom. Fear not, souls of the righteous, nephesh of the righteous. Fear not. That's what I was just saying. And I repeat, because as Corinthians says, we do not walk by sight, we walk by faith. So what we are seeing and what, I mean, also what they are putting on TV and everything, all of that is all an illusion. So we should not fear. And even when they start using, um, well, police and everything as they are doing in certain countries and will continue to do, um, we should not fear, because Yahweh has control of every single thing. Obviously, we must pray for the Almighty to continue his protection, and even um, to help us and others who may be able to do something to stop or um, at least hold a lot of what the New World Order is bringing until the second half of the last 7 years. And pretty much what I mean is that, as we see in Revelation, Daniel, and other parts of scriptures, when the last 7 years come, the mark of the beast will be um, completely mandated. It will be either that or death. So that's what it's going to come to. And we are seeing a lot of steps towards that. So it's just a clear sign that we are that close. And before that moment when it will be get the mark or die, before that moment, they will try to do every single thing they can. So we must pray so that Yahweh protects us and many of our, well, all of our loved ones, but we know that some will reject, sadly, will reject salvation, redemption, and all of that because of how deceitful the enemy is and what he is doing. So I repeat, fear not, souls of the righteous. Have hope, you who have died in righteousness. Do not grieve if your souls have descended in pain to Sheol, or if during your lifetime your bodies have not gone for you in accordance to your goodness, or if during your lifetime your body's things have not gone for you in accordance to your goodness. Instead, await the day of judgment of the errant ones, the day of the condemnation and the punishment. So here it was clearly speaking to the souls, those who are in paradise or who have descended to Sheol, And no matter how their bodies were when they were on earth, or how they were killed as martyrs, they will receive a body. And in a way that's interesting because according to Judaism, there are certain writings that say that there is a bone that is indestructible, and that would be the bone that the Almighty would use to make the new body. Obviously, that would be needed perhaps by an angel, but not by the creator of all things. So here we see part of um, what would show that that is wrong, for the Almighty does not need the body or any of the things of the body for the soul to receive a new perfect body for the resurrection. Instead, await the day of judgment of the errant one, the day of the condemnation and the punishment. And when you die, the errant ones say about you, the righteous die just as we die. So the errant ones, the wicked ones of the world, they think that there is no justice really, and that they can control everything, and they will be able to through the new world order, because they are able and they have been able for even thousands of years. Six, they've been able to kill um, many righteous people. So they are fooled because of the fact that to Yahweh, one day is 1,000 years for humans. So since they have done it for pretty much 6,000 years, they think that that is like eternity. Yet they have no idea that only 6 days have passed, and they will have to face judgment pretty soon. So because of the fact that their lives are so short, and they have had control so long because they serve the God of this world, Satan, then they think that the fact that the righteous die just like they die means that there is no justice or reward even. So it says, and when you die, the errant ones say about you, the righteous die just as we die. What profit do they have in their works? Look, like us, they expire in sorrow and in darkness. What do they get more than us? From then on, we are the same. What will they take with them, and what shall they see in the eternity? For look, they are dead, and from now on they will never again see the light. I say unto you, you errant ones, have been satisfied eating and drinking, robbing, erring, plundering men, acquiring riches, and living happy days. You have not seen the end of the righteous, how their end is in shalom. For even to the day of their death, no violence has been found in them. Although they perish, and it is as if they had not existed, and their souls have descended in affliction to Sheol. This continues in this chapter 103, so I'll go right ahead. Yet now I swear to you, righteous, by the greatness of the honor, the greatness of the worth of the great one, by his illustrious kingdom and by his majesty. I comprehend the secret. I have read it in the tablets of heaven. I have seen the scroll of the set apart ones. I have found written and registered in them concerning you. It says, I have seen that every well-being, happiness, and honor have been prepared for you. I repeat, I have seen that every well-being, happiness, and honor have been prepared for you, and being written down for the spirits of them who die in righteousness. Numerous good things shall be given to you in payment for your labors, and your portion shall be better than that of the living. No matter who the living may be and how good he may have lived, will have no comparison with the type of living that Yahweh will give to those who are righteous after resurrection. The lives or the souls of you who have died in righteousness shall be raised and shall live and your spirits and your remembrance shall not perish before the face of Yahweh the power for all the generations of the world, and from there on ye shall not fear the affront. So for eternity, we will be before the face of Yahweh, which means that we will receive his favor. We will have always good things coming. And since hope is one of the three things that are eternal, love, hope. Yeah, so 1 Corinthians 13:13. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. As we know, love is Yahweh. Yahweh is love, therefore is the greatest of all. Hope is connected to the Ruach HaKodesh, and faith is connected to Mashiach. We must have faith in the work of Mashiach. The Ruach gives us hope, and Yahweh gives us love, and we must love Yahweh. So these three, faith, hope, and love, are eternal. That will continue forever, in contrast to prophecy, tongues, and knowledge. Knowledge, prophecy, and tongues will stop because we will only have the Hebrew tongue, Lashon HaKodesh. And prophecy, we won't need it anymore because time won't work like it does here. And because prophecy had to do with the work of Mashiach, which was for this time. He won't have to die ever again. So that also will stop. And knowledge, we will receive it all. So therefore, it will be completed. So faith, we will continue to use faith as the power given by Yahweh for us to create whatever we want in that time. Hope, because Yahweh through his Ruach will continue to give us more and better things throughout eternity. So it will always get better for eternity. And obviously love, which makes everything wonderful. So continuing with Hanok. The souls of you who have died in righteousness, of you who have died in righteousness shall be raised and shall live, and your spirits and your remembrance shall not perish before the face of Yahweh the power for all the generations of the world, and from there on ye shall not fear the affront. Woe to you who have died errant ones. If you die in the richness of your errors, those who are like you say, blessed are these errant ones who have seen all their days and now have died in the pleasure and in the wealth, and have not seen during their life persecution nor murder. They have died in honor, and during life no judgment has been pronounced against them. So look how this was written so long ago, and it fits many of the evil people nowadays ruling the world. And a lot of people use that as an excuse to not believe in the Most High or in justice. For they say, how can such an evil person live such a good life for so long and die with everything, while a person that is so righteous has to go through so much pain and trials and tribulation, and then even die because of that faith. So woe to you who have died errant ones. If you died in the richness of your errors, those who are like you say, blessed are these errant ones who have seen all their days and now have died in the pleasure and in wealth, and have not seen during their life persecution nor murder. They have died in honor, and during life no judgment has been pronounced against them. Don't ye know that when he shall make your souls descend to Sheol, there your evil deeds shall shame you, and your suffering shall be great? There in the darkness, the chains and the burning fire, when the great punishment shall be executed. Woe to you, because you shall not have shalom. To the righteous and the good who were alive, do not say on reflecting. During our life, we have worked laboriously and experienced much suffering. We have seen many evils. We have been consumed, diminished, and our spirit has been cast down. We have been destroyed, and we haven't found anyone that would help us. Not even with a word. We have been tortured and have not expected to see life the next day. We hoped indeed to have been the head, but we are the tail. We have suffered working, but we have not enjoyed the fruit of our labor. They have been devoured by errant ones and the wicked who have unloaded their yoke upon us. Those who detest and who assault us have exercised dominion over us. And before those who hate us have we bowed our heads, yet they have shown no compassion toward us. We have been tried, escaping from them in order to escape and be at rest, but we have found neither where to flee nor how to escape from them. We have complained before our governors for their persecution, and we have cried out against those who were devouring us, but our cries have not been heard, nor would they listen to our voice, because the governors help those who plunder and devour us, those who diminish our number and cover up their oppression. They do not remove the yoke from us of those who devour, evict, and slay us. They conceal our slaughter, nor it is not remembered that they have raised their hand against him, the Almighty. So pretty much that's all that the righteous martyrs and many would say. And even as I was saying, how it connects with nowadays and how a lot of people work and are not able to really enjoy that which they worked for because the system takes it through a bunch of taxes and other ways. And well, just the way that the world is nowadays fits a lot what Hanok is saying right here. It says here, could verse 13, 14 be referring to the many who will cry to Yahweh when they will be sacrificed? We have been tried escaping from them in order to escape and be at rest, but we have found neither where to flee nor how to escape from them. Yeah, that's a great point. We have complained before our governors for their persecution, and we have cried out against those who were devouring us, but our cries have not been heard, nor would they listen to our voice. Yes. And that's how it will happen with the beast and his governors sending to kill anybody who doesn't accept the mark of the beast. So I'll continue with chapter 104. I swear to you, righteous, that in heaven the envoys, the malachim, do record your goodness before the word of Yahweh, the power. Have hope, though first ye have been afflicted with the calamity and suffering. Now shall you shine like the luminaries of the heavens, as it is prophesied in Daniel 12. For just like Yahweh told Abraham and Jacob that their children would be like the sand of the sea, he also told Abraham and Yitzhak that his children, their children, would be like the stars of the firmament. And that is also prophesied in Daniel. And obviously, that refers to the few and the many, meaning those in the firmament and those on the land as the sand. So have hope, though first you have been afflicted with the calamity and suffering, now shall you shine like the luminaries of the heavens. You shall appear and you shall shine, and the gates of the kingdom shall open itself before you. Well, the gates of the kingdom shall open themselves before you. With your cry for justice, and it shall manifest for you, because all of your tribulation shall be visited on the governors and on all who have assisted those who spoil you. Have hope and do not renounce your hope, which is Yahushua, as we can read in Hebrews 10:23 and 26. Have hope and do not renounce your hope, because you shall enjoy a great joy, like that of the envoys in the heavens, that of the malachim, the angels. However you might conduct yourself, you shall not have to hide on the day of the great judgment. You shall not be taken for errant ones. The eternal judgment shall fall far from you for all the generations of the world. So now do not fear, O righteous, when you see the errant ones grow in strength and prosperity in their ways, as they are doing at the moment. And do not associate with them, but keep yourselves at a distance from their violence, because ye shall be associates with the host of the heavens. That's wonderful. And you know how they are trying to segregate once again people, but now according to the injection. So eventually people won't be able to enter certain places like restaurants and all of that unless they have it. But look how scripture itself tells us, just separate from them. Those who do not want to be with you, those who are part of the system and want to be part of the system by accepting what the system tells them, when we know is so evil and is prophesied in scriptures as the beast at work. So as it says here, and do not associate with them, but keep yourselves at a distance from their violence, because ye shall be associates with the host of the heavens. Though you errant ones say, none of our errors shall be taken account of or be recorded, nevertheless your errors are recorded daily. No matter what they say, it is what it is. They will have to pay, even if they think that death will be the end of everything. And be assured by me that light and darkness, day and night, look at all your transgressions. Be not irreverent in your hearts. Do not lie and do not alter the word of the truth, and do not accuse as being false the word of the set apart one and the greatness. Do not regard your worshipped images, because all your lies and irreverence shall not be imputed for righteousness, but as a great error. So here, and be assured by me that light and darkness, day and night, so everything that Yahweh created looks upon the transgression of the people, and can be represented also by Samael and Lucifer as the entities that will eventually also torture those who follow their ways, just like themselves will be tortured in the lake of fire eventually. And be assured by me that light and darkness, day and night, look at all your transgressions. Be not irreverent in your hearts. Do not lie and do not alter the word of the truth. Do not alter the word, which is the name of Mashiach, the truth. And do not accuse as being false the word of the set apart one and the greatness. Do not regard your worshipped images, because all your lies and irreverence shall not be imputed for righteousness, but as a great error. Now I know this secret. The errant ones shall alter and adulterate into many forms the word of truth, Yahushua, the word of truth. Remember that Revelation 19:13 says that the name of the Son is the word of Yahweh. So the name of Mashiach, Yahushua, is the word of truth, for Yahushua himself said, I am the truth. So the errant ones shall alter and adulterate into many forms the word of truth. And of course, also, since Mashiach is the word, everything that was written down in scriptures, which is inspired by the Ruach HaKodesh, comes from the word of truth. So they did not only alter and adulterate the name of Mashiach, but also the scriptures themselves by wrong translations in many other ways. So I know this secret. The errant ones shall alter and adulterate into many forms the word of truth. And they shall proffer wicked words. They shall lie and create a great creature and they shall write scrolls upon their own words. So this is huge. And as you can see here, the title, errant ones will alter the word and create the lie, the creature. Romans 1:17-25, pretty much the creature being the image of the beast, the abomination of desolation, which is pretty much the fulfillment of what they have been doing for hundreds of years by creating an image and a name for that image, Jesus. The name and the image, that which everybody knows when they think of that name, Jesus, which is not how Mashiach looked when he came to the earth. So, and they shall proffer wicked words, they shall lie and create a great creature, and they shall write scrolls upon their own words. It says here, literally create a great creature. That's how it says right there. Also, that could be taken, of course, as the beast, the New World Order. But it says here, but the Spanish translation has invent great lies. Both are true, but this way better reflects Romans 1:21-25, speaking of the false names and the anointed of the lie, called the Antichrist, mentioned in 1 Thessalonians 2:13, the work of Satan, which, like I said, is the image of the beast mentioned in Revelation 13, and the abomination of desolation mentioned in Daniel and many other parts, like in Matthew. So, and they shall proffer wicked words, they shall lie and create a great creature, and they shall write scrolls upon their own words, which are pretty much like the many books that they write, so that, for instance, Christian pastors write a bunch of books, and the people that follow those pastors, instead of reading the scriptures, read those books, sadly. And they don't know scriptures. They think they do because they read the supposed interpretations of a false pastor. So they shall write scrolls upon their own words. Nevertheless, if they shall write my word correctly in their own languages, and if they do not alter nor abbreviate my words, rather that they write them all correctly, I shall testify all that first in their favor. I shall testify all that first in their favor. It says, I shall testify, like Yahweh appears as the last with Eliyahu, both as witnesses to testify. I shall testify all that first in their favor. So nevertheless, if they shall write my word correctly in their own languages, and if they do not alter nor abbreviate my words, rather that they write them all correctly, I shall testify all that first in their favor. Another secret also I know, the scriptures shall be granted to the righteous and the wise, in order to communicate joy, integrity, and great wisdom. The scriptures shall be granted to the righteous and the wise, in order to communicate joy, integrity, and great wisdom. The scriptures shall be given to them, they shall believe, and they shall rejoice in them. And all the righteous shall become happy at learning from them all the ways of righteousness. So look how clear it is about what has been happening during these end times, and how we realize that that most translations are very bad, mainly because they don't have the names. In that case, 99% of translations which don't have the names. Plus, there are many others, a great percentage of translations that took out words, verses, or translated those verses in the worst way possible. So Yahweh has given us wisdom in order to look at the scriptures as they are. As for instance, being able to learn Hebrew and go to the original, or getting better translations. And that would be obviously another reason why they would take this book out of the scriptures, because it would be a big issue for them to have right there something that testifies against their translations. So I'll continue with chapter 104a or 105. In those days, Yahweh designated them from among the sons of the earth in order to rid them and to give them testimony concerning his wisdom, saying to them, teach them it, because ye shall be their guides and ye shall receive their rewards. Among all of the sons of the earth, ye shall have the entire reward. For I and my son will forever hold communion with them in the paths of uprightness, while they are still alive. Shalom shall be yours. Rejoice, sons of integrity, in the truth. Amen. So the importance of getting the scriptures and teaching them to others, which will bring a great reward. Chapter 105. I'll continue since I don't see any questions. We'll look at that at the end. So chapter 105. After a time, I took Hanoch. After a time, I took Hanoch, a wife for Methuselah, my son, and she gave birth to a son to whom he gave the name Lamech, saying, truly righteousness has been humiliated until this day. Lamech, saying, truly righteousness has been humiliated until this day. So imagine if that was the case already during the 7th generation, pretty much at the very beginning of creation, and already they were humiliating the righteous. And they had no idea how bad it would go. Come to be at the end of time. Here there's a comment and it says, this explanation of the name Lamech shows that the Le means four, and that the Mech relates to Strong's 4134 or 4355. And in that case, and that will be because normally they translate Lamech as strong or mighty one. But the fact that they say that the name Lamech was given because of that would show that the Le at the beginning, the Lamed, is meaning four, and therefore the word after that would be Mech. And Mech, let me show it here. Here, this is the first example that is mentioned in the comment. It says Much, which means to be low, grow poor, be depressed, be poor. And the other one was the 4355, which is Makach, and means to be humiliated, to be low. So that will be the root of the name Lamech, according to what we are seeing here on Enoch. And she became pregnant by him and brought forth to him a son. After a time, I took Hanoch, a wife for Methuselah, my son, and she gave birth to a son to whom he gave the name Lamech, saying, truly righteousness has been humiliated until this day. When he reached maturity, Methuselah took for him a woman, and she became pregnant by him and brought forth to him a son. When the infant was born, his flesh was whiter than the snow, redder than the rose. His hair was white like the pure wool is, thick and brilliant. So the fact that his hair was like pure wool gives us an idea of the type of hair he had, but that is normally hair that goes with black skin. Yet it says that was whiter than snow and redder than the rose. So that would be an albino. So Noah was an albino, which was pretty much the first time that happened. So it says, when the infant was born, his flesh was whiter than the snow, redder than the rose. His hair was white like the pure wool is, thick and brilliant. When he opened his eyes, it illuminated the entire house like the luminary orb, and the entire house was radiant. So this is important, and it's similar to when Moshe was born. Similar, not exactly the same, but there are connections between the two births. In fact, in Judaism, it is believed that Moshe was a reincarnation of Noah, because Noah was told that flesh would live 120 years. And then Moshe came and he lived for 120 years exactly. He even died on his birthday. So one of the interpretations of that verse, when Noah is told that, is that his flesh, when he would come back, would last 120 years. So some see a clear connection between Noah and Moshe in Exodus. So here on Shemot chapter 2, Exodus, it says, and a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi, and the woman conceived and bore a son. And she saw, here it says, and she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. 3 months, which is pretty much a whole season. It connects obviously with the 3 days of Mashiach in Sheol, as well as the 3,000 years from Mashiach coming to Judgment Day. But the point here is that it says, and she saw that he was a lovely child. In Hebrew, verse 2 says, conceived a son, and she saw him, kitov, that he was good. Kitov. So he saw that he was good. So that good he was. And she hid him, which would be like a treasure because of the root right here. She hid him for 3 moons. This is one of the times, is like 3 times that this happens, that the term to refer to a month has the root of Yarech, which is moon. So this is a lunar month. So Chodesh, which is the term used all the time for a month, is the solar month. So the fact that there is a term for a lunar, lunar month, shows that the other term, Chodesh, for month, refers to the other type of month, which is the solar month, which is when it is on each of the constellations or houses. So she hid him for 3 moons. And also as in hiding him by the darkness of the night. And that would be one of the reasons also why it would be using moons, as well as perhaps showing the type of calendar they were using while they were in Egypt. Since, as we know, right now is as Egypt and Jewish and people and a lot of Christians are using a lunar calendar. When Moshe came out of Egypt, Yahweh told Moshe the true calendar. So he told him this is the first month and then a bunch of other things. So that would seem to show that they were using a different calendar. But anyways, my point here in the beginning was kitov. So she saw that he was good. Just like when Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, he separated the light from darkness and he saw that he was good. So when he created light, he saw that he was good. Kitov. When Mashiach came, he was called Tov, good. And he said, why do you call me good? There is only one good, and he is in the heavens, the Father. So Yahweh is the only one who can be called good. Now, Yahushua also said in John 3:13 that the Son of Man is in the heavens. He said that while he was on earth. Mashiach was on earth, and he himself said that the Son of Man was in heaven. So that refers to the first Mashiach and the last, the Son of Man, who has to come at the end of time as one of the two witnesses representing the Father. Therefore, he would be the one called Tov, good. That's why he is the witness like Moshe. The witness like Moshe, who was represented by Moshe, who here is being called good. I hope that is clear. So Moshe was called Tov. They called Tov Mashiach, and he rejected that title because Mashiach came as the tree of life, Chaim. He should have been called Chaim, but he was called Tov as referring to the tree of the knowledge of that which is Tov, that which is good, which refers to the last, the witness like Moshe. So that's why Moshe was called Tov. Hope that is clear. So when he came out, she saw that he was Tov, good. Just like when Yahweh created light and many other things and called them Tov, good. Now, going back to, and well, the fact that it says, and she saw, like the Ruach, the Ted can be seen as a serpent, and the last is coming like a thief in the night. So he will be seen as the opposite of what he is. Plus, remember that Mashiach has the same numerical value as Nachash, which is serpent. The Vav represents the Son of Man. So as a thief in the night comes the Son of Man to the temple to bring the goodness of Yahweh. Many other things, but my point first was that it's 17, the whole number, 17. And as we know, the last, the witness like Moshe, comes from Yosef. Yosef, the son of Jacob, his story starts when he was 17 because he represents the Tov. He represents the last. For the last comes from Yosef. So that's why his life starts at 17. And then Jacob's life ends with the number 17 because he lived the best years of his life when he saw Joseph and lived in Egypt. And he lived for 17 years before he died. So 17 years of goodness that he lived in Egypt, represented by the numerical value of the word Tov. Jacob also represents the last. That's why Jacob and Joseph were the same likeness and image, just like Abraham and Yitzhak, the father and Yahushua. Then Jacob, the father, and Joseph representing the last. So going back to Hanoch, as we saw here with Moshe, he came out and she, like the spirit, saw that he was good. In Hanoch, referring to Noah, remember that Yahweh said, well, Yahushua said that the coming of the Son of Man would be like the days of Noah. So Noah connects with the coming of the last, just like Moshe, for he is the witness like Moshe prophesied in Deuteronomy. So, it says, when the infant was born, his flesh was whiter than the snow, redder than the rose. The whiter is interesting because they were not expecting that, as we're about to see. Just like, for instance, when it comes to Mashiach the first, they make him white, but they change the name. So therefore, that white man that they claim is Christ and called Jesus has nothing to do with the true Mashiach, Yahushua. And as we see in scriptures, and because of history itself, Yahushua did not have light skin, because it was normal for that region and for the sons of Jacob to have dark skin, being in those areas of the world. But now, as we know, the last has to come like a thief in the night, like a Roman, just like Jacob dressed as Esau in order to take the blessing. So it's interesting that they were not expecting Noah to be so white. And as we are going to see farther in the in the book, like Lamech was scared that he thought that he was a Nephilim. He thought that he was a son or a giant, a son of the angels. Also, another important thing is that it says redder than the rose, redder like Asaph, who was red, just like David was also red. Why was David red, just like Asaph? Because David represents the last who comes dressed in red, just like Yahweh mentions it in Isaiah 65. I mean 63. In Isaiah 63, Yahweh refers to him coming in the end times dressed in red, like a thief in the night, like a Roman, like a Gentile, and therefore different than what they were expecting. When the infant was born, his flesh was whiter than the snow, redder than the rose. His hair was white like the pure wool. So like a sheep, just like the sheep is mentioned in Isaiah 53 when it refers to the last dying, just like Mashiach died as the lamb, mentioned in that same verse. Thick and brilliant. When he opened his eyes, it illuminated the entire house. When he opened his eyes, it illuminated the entire house. The eyes are the lamps of the body. So when he opened his eyes, light filled the whole house. So we just saw in Moshe when it said, and she saw that he was good. Here we see that when he opened his eyes, light entered the whole house. So it is like Noah representing the light that entered the whole house when light was created in the first day of creation. And then Moshe, who was called good. Therefore, seeing a connection between Noah and Moshe as the light who was called good. So when he opened his eyes, it illuminated the entire house, like the luminary orb, the luminary orb. So in this case, he would be the light of the sun, just like the sun of righteousness. In Malachi, we read Malachi 4:2 regarding the son of righteousness who would appear in the end, just like Mashiach came as the light, the essence. The luminary orb or the son of righteousness would be the lamp through which that essence or light comes out, just like Yahushua is the word and the last is the voice. Yahushua is the arm, the last is the hand. So when he opened his eyes, it illuminated the entire house like the luminary orb, and the entire house was radiant. And then the infant got up from the hands of the midwife, opened his mouth and spoke to Yahweh, the sovereign of righteousness. Fear overcame Lamech, his father, and he fled away and came all the way to his own father Methuselah and said, I have put in the world a different son. So he got very scared because not only he came all white and all of that we already mentioned, but also he spoke already right after he came out of the womb, worshiping Yahweh. So he thought he was a child of the Malachim. And that is interesting also, but that would kind of make a connection between the Nephilim with the way they saw Noah. And Noah had white flesh, white skin. So that would mean that the Nephilim had white skin. So his own father Methuselah and said, I have put in the world a different son. He is not like the sons of Adam. Rather, he resembles the sons of the Malachim of the heavens. So I have put in the world a different son. He is not like the sons of Adam. Rather, he resembles, so he's talking about his appearance, a son of the envoys of the heavens. He is not like us. His eyes are like rays of the luminary orb. So they were yellow, which is normal for an albino. And his face is radiant. It seems to me that he was not procreated by me, rather by the envoys. This is also interesting because remember that Yahweh spoke about him coming as a gibor. A gibor is like a warrior, but that was or hero, or also they translated, and it was a term normally used for the Nephilim because of their strength. They would become famous and seen as heroes. In fact, many of the superheroes of nowadays are based on many of those fallen angels and Nephilim. So Yahweh said that he would come as a warrior, as a Gibor. And that has to do also with the fact that it would be Michael manifesting as a man, as the son of man, not through the abomination mentioned in the time of Noah when the Malachim came and procreated with the females, but through a set apart way, pretty much his soul entering this reality through a regular birth of a man and a female, like we see in the Jeremiah 31 and other parts of scriptures, like also Isaiah 9. So it seems to me that he was not procreated by me, rather by the envoys. And I fear that something miraculous should take place in his days. And I fear that something miraculous should take place in his days. Remember, Yahushua said that the coming of the Son of Man would be like the days of Noah. So this fits also our time. So now, my Father, I supplicate you and I implore you to go to our father Hanoch and learn the truth from him, since his residence is with the envoys. When Methuselah had heard the words of his son, he came to me at the borders of the earth, because he had been informed that I was there, and he cried out, and I heard his voice, and I went to him, and I said to him, I am here, my son. Why have you come towards me? He answered and said, I have come to you on account of a great concern and on account of a difficult sight to which I have approached. So now, my father, hear me. A son has been born to my son Lemech, who does not resemble him. His nature is not like the nature of men. His color is whiter than the snow and redder than the rose. The hairs of his head are whiter than white wool. His eyes are like the rays of the luminary orb, and when he opened them, they illuminated the entire house. He has gotten up from the hands of the midwife. He has opened his mouth and has blessed Yahweh, the sovereign of the heavens. His father Lemech has been seized with fear and has fled towards me. He does not believe that the infant belongs to him, rather of the envoys of heaven. So look, here I have come to you so that you might let me know the truth. Then I, Hanoch, answered him, saying, Amen. Indeed, Yahweh shall restore his law upon the earth, as I have seen and I told you, my son. Look how we mentioned his law. The law, the Torah, had not been given yet, but it will be referring to restoring everything in the earth through the flood. However, it fits our time because the last comes as the witness like Moshe, who actually wrote the law which was fulfilled by Mashiach 2,000 years ago. So by the last coming to interpret and teach the law, with already the fulfillment of it by Mashiach Yahushua, becomes also a fulfillment of this that we are reading here. Then I, Hanoch, answered him, saying, Amen. Yahweh shall restore his law upon the earth, as I have seen and I told you, my son, because in the days of Yered, my father, he who descends, those who were from heaven disregarded the word of Yahweh, just like they have disregarded the name of the Son, Yahushua. Look, they committed error, disregarded the law of Yahweh, altered it to go with women and to err with them, married some of them, who gave birth to creatures not similar to the spirits, rather carnal ones. Because of this, there shall be great wrath, and a great destruction shall take place during 1 year, a deluge upon all of the earth. But this child that to you has been born, and his 3 sons shall be delivered on the earth, when all the sons of Adam who exist upon the earth shall die. So, because of this, there shall be a great wrath and a great destruction. So he mentions the fallen angels. They thought that Noah was a giant or one of the Nephilim because of his appearance. But he was actually a sign that the Nephilim were going to be destroyed. So that's why he came with that appearance. So there is a connection there, like I repeat, because of the fallen angels, then Yahweh is also sending Michael to bring judgment. So because of this, there shall be a great wrath, and a great destruction shall take place during 1 year, a deluge upon all of the earth. But this child that to you has been born, and his 3 sons, which would be Shem, Yafet, and Ham, which represent Noah, would be the last son of man, like the days of Noah. Shem would be the chosen few who accept the Shem of Mashiach, the name of Mashiach. The many would be Yafet, for whom the kingdom will be open after their death and resurrection, because Yafet means open. And Ham would be the nations who would have to go through the fire. And Ham represents or means hot, like the fire. So those 3 children of Noah represent the few, the many, and the nations. Because of the evilness of Ham, we could say those who are going to the fire. But because of the fact that there will be some from the nations who will enter the new world, then just like Ham started to multiply after the flood, in the same way the nations will multiply for 1,000 years. So the nations will be represented by Ham, Yafet, the many, Shem, the few. So, but this child that to you has been born, and his 3 sons shall be delivered on the earth, when all the sons of Adam who exist upon the earth shall die. Just like in the last 7 years of Revelation. Then the earth shall rest, like during the millennium, the Shabbat, and it shall be purified from the great corruption. Now therefore inform your son Lemech. He is your son in truth and without deception. This infant that has been born is yours. Let him call his name Noah, because he, referring to Yahweh, shall be a rest for you when you rest in him, and he shall be your salvation, like Yahushua. But look how that he could refer to Noah and to Yahweh, because it refers to how Yahweh was acting through Noah, just like Yahweh would manifest as the last, as we see in Psalm 110, when Yahweh tells Mashiach, sit at my right hand until I go down and put your enemies as your footstool, being the footstool, the earth. So bringing Satan to earth, as we see in Revelation 12, when Michael does it. So Michael would be that messenger, being the last, representing Yahweh himself. So let him call his name Noah, because he shall be a rest for you when you rest in him, and he shall be your salvation, because he and his sons shall be saved from the corruption of the earth, caused by all the errant ones, and by the irreverent ones of the earth, that there shall be in his days. For instance, just like the corruption that they are bringing through the injection, and only some will stay away from it. Rest in him, and he shall be your salvation, because he and his sons shall be saved from the corruption of the earth, caused by all the errant ones and by the irreverent ones of the earth, that there shall be in his days. Afterwards, there shall be greater unrighteousness, right after the flood. Greater unrighteousness, like what happened in Babel, and then Sodom and Gomorrah, and etc., and even in our time, which is the worst of all. Take place. So afterwards there shall be greater unrighteousness take place than this, which shall be consummated in his days on the earth. For I know the secrets of Yahweh, that he himself has revealed and explained to me, and which I have read in the tablets of heaven. I saw it written in them, that generation after generation shall work iniquity in this way, and there shall be evil until a righteous generation shall arise. This is wonderful. Listen to this once again. I saw it written in them, that generation after generation shall work iniquity in this way, and there shall be evil until a righteous generation shall arise, and until irreverence and the wickedness disappears from off the earth. So that righteous generation would be that of the few, the chosen, and until the goodness comes to the earth upon them during the 1,000 years, the millennium, the Shabbat. And now, my son, go tell your son Lemech, and tell him that this infant is in truth and without deception his son. And when Methuselah had heard the word of his father Hanoch, who had revealed to him every secret thing, he returned and let him know, and gave this infant the name of Noah, since he was to console the earth from all the destruction. Another scroll which Hanoch wrote for his son Methuselah, and for those who shall come after him and keep the law in the latter days, meaning our time. Here's a comment. It says, English translation, preserve their purity of conduct. The Torah was non-existent before Moshe, and this may be a scribal revision, or if it is accurate, it would refer to the fact that only those of us who are justified by faith are capable of keeping the law. Another possibility is that it refers to the eternal law of life and not that of Moshe. That's right. So, another scroll which Hanoch wrote for his son Methuselah, and for those who shall come after him and keep the law in the latter days. You who have labored well, wait these days until the end be consummated for evildoers. Look how perfect for our time. You who have labored well, wait these days until the end be consummated for evildoers, and until the power of the errant ones be consumed. Interesting also that we are in the last day of Sukkot, which would be pretty much the last day to wait, when it actually receives its fulfillment. Wait, because certainly error shall pass away, and the name of the errant ones shall be blotted out of the scroll of life and the scroll of the set apart one. The fact that it says that the name of the errant ones shall be blotted out of the scroll of life, as we also see in scripture, is interesting because it kind of shows the mercy of Yahweh and his eternal hope, as we were seeing from Corinthians 13. The fact that Yahweh wrote everybody's name in the scroll of life, but according to their works, then they are taken out. So he wrote everybody's name, and then he just takes out the name of those who did not want to be part of that life, eternal life. So wait, because certainly error shall pass away, in the name of the errant one shall be blotted out of the scroll of life, and the scroll of the set apart one. And their seed shall be destroyed forever. Their spirits shall be dead. They shall lament in a chaotic desolation, and they shall burn in the fire, because there shall be no ground there. No ground. There, it won't be like earth, where we have a ground to stand. They won't be able to stand, for there will be no ground there. Here there's a comment, and it says, in the bottomless fire shall they burn. Literally and consistent with the Spanish translation that says, in the fire shall they burn, where there is no ground. Pretty much Sheol during the day of wrath, the bottomless pit, bottomless, no ground, which would be the worst part in Sheol during the 1,000 years. I observed there a cloud that could not be discerned well, because from the depth of it, it was not able to see through it. Because from the depth of it, I was not able to see through it. I saw also a flame of fire blazing brightly, and something like glittering mountains that were whirled around and agitated from side to side. Then I inquired of one of the envoys of the set apart one who was with me, and said to him, what is this brilliant object? For it is not heaven, but only a brilliant flame that blazes, in a clamor of screams, wailing, lamentations, and great suffering. He said to me, into this place that you see there are cast the souls of the errant ones, of the irreverent, of those who work evil, and of all those who alter what Yahweh the power has spoken through the mouth of the prophets about all that shall be. Because some of these things are written in scrolls, and other inscribed in the heights of the heavens, so that the envoys and the set apart ones might read them and know what shall happen, both to the errant ones or to the humble spirits, to those who have suffered in their bodies and shall be repaid by Yahweh the power, and to those who have been slandered by the wicked men, who have loved Yahweh the power, and who have not loved gold, nor silver, nor any of the riches of this world, yet whose bodies have been tortured. To those who from the period of their birth have not been covetous of earthly riches, but have regarded them as passing breeze, as a passing breeze, as in the commandments, the 10 commandments, the 10 being not to covet. So those who have not done it, but have regarded them as passing breeze, those riches, earthly riches, and whose conduct has been consistent with this. So Yahweh has proven their souls, and has found them pure in order that they might bless his name. So he reveals the names to those souls who he has seen as pure, set apart enough to be able to pronounce his name. So imagine how huge that is for us. The fact that Yahweh revealed that to us means a whole lot. So, and whose conduct has been consistent with this, so Yahweh has proven their souls and has found them pure in order that they might bless his name. I have exposed in the scrolls all their blessings, and he shall reward them, for they have been found to love Yahweh more than the surface of this world. He says, while they have been trodden down by the wicked and heard their reviling and scorning and were slandered, they were blessing me. So now will I call the spirits of the good from the generation of the light, and I will transform those who were born in darkness and who have not been received in their bodies honor or esteem or compensation as their fidelity has merited. I shall exhibit in a brilliant light those who have loved my set apart name, those who have loved my pure name. I shall exhibit in a brilliant light those who have loved my pure name, and I will make each sit on a throne of honor, especially to his own, or peculiarly his own. They shall shine for innumerable times, since the judgment of Yahweh, the power, is righteous. And he shall replete the belief of the loyal in the dwellings of the way of truth. They shall see those who have lived in the darkness cast into the darkness, while the righteous shall shine. The errant ones shall scream loudly, and shall see them shining at them, who truly shall exit the days and periods that are prescribed to them. That's the end.